Hey everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you so much again for joining me here. I hope you're having a fantastic and phenomenal day. We're taking a quick look here at Solana, double checking a few things. 147 seems to be that area of interest here. We got our macro point of control once again at 143. So what we're going to look at here more specifically is this overextension that we're seeing. Potential for pullback, but also more likely than not continuation, because we never really got that retrace, that 143 mark. That's where I was really interested in getting it long. Hindsight's 2020, missed another opportunity. No big deal, right? That's just kind of how it goes. You set multiple alerts. Eventually one of them will go into the position that you want them to, and you're going to be able to find a little bit more success. But the truth here is that we are 9 plus 2 as far as an overextension here. We're 36 plus 8. We're what? 44 hours of continuation in the same direction. That's quite a lot, okay? So keep in mind, that being said, we are in a situation where we need to make sure that we recognize important areas of resistance and support. So we'll look at the liquidation level here too and see about half of this liquidation was swept. So we're probably upwards about 3 billion left in liquidation to the upside here. There's probably a lot more now that there's probably some shorts entering the market, but we'll double check that too. So let's go ahead and get this loaded up. And I want to say thank you again so much to my community for just being phenomenal, awesome people. Thanks again and that goes for everybody who's watched my YouTube videos as well. You're all greatly appreciated, deeply appreciate the support. And thank you again so much for always hitting that like button on every video. It really helps grow the channel. And more importantly, get less people destroyed by Moon Boys, because unfortunately, a lot of my community members came over from getting wrecked from 50, 100x leverage recommenders, basically showing you that crypto is gambling when it really isn't. There's a lot of strategy and things you can look at to your advantage. So let's talk about that. Right now, at this point, we can see tons of shorts got destroyed in that 145 to 147 range. 147.35 is that level there. So from 147.35 upwards about 150, there's a pretty solid chunk of liquidation, maybe 2, 3, 4 billion, depending on how you count that out. We can see here as well, it's also reflected here. Each one of these bars is roughly 1 billion. Yeah, so between 3 to 4 billion between now and 150. Okay, that's quite a lot of liquidation. We take a look here too, the delta is still pretty small. And this is actually a very good sign. I know it seems kind of weird, but we're finally starting to see more longs and shorts as far as the delta is concerned. And the reason why that's helpful is that it kind of lets us know the shift in momentum has happened here, and that we're more likely to see upside than downside based on the simple fact that there is less interest in the potential price, basically going down. Okay, so it shows more support. It's also good too that we're not overextended, because anytime you see a delta that gets really maxed out, like Bitcoin was up to 7 billion in short liquidation a few days ago. It took off after that, mainly because there's too many shorts in the market, and market makers want to shift that momentum, right? Because they see a lot of money, a lot of value there. Either way, we can see 141 as per usual. That's still the current open interest area there. So we have the most amount of open interest at 141 last 7 days. So what does this all tell us? Well, it all tells us that we're more likely to see upside than downside at this point. While we could still see the pullback here, this overextension doesn't mean as much as it should based on other contributing factors that we normally can't see on the charts. Okay, so that's a good foundation. Let's go ahead and see what's going on with the daily time frame. Work our way down. We can see we are under the 20-day SMA, above the 50. Generally construed as a positive, but I don't love that we're under the 20. Keep in mind the 20-day SMA is not like a resistance level. People seem to misinterpret that. It's more like a range and or just kind of a catalyst, if you will. Being above the 20-day SMA really helps us understand the price will probably continue in that direction. We do have some resistance above us at 151. That's also reflected on the liquidation, as we discussed and showed here. So between now and 151, I would say you may want to consider securing profits if you're in a long, right? Just because we got some resistance there. I'll draw out our new fib levels here. In fact, I can do that now that we've potentially bottomed out. And we kind of want to see where we're at here in this trend. So that's a 0.5 fib level right there at about 147. So again, we're in this situation where we got some resistance, and we can kind of see a pretty obvious line there where the price action wants to kind of maintain itself. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and look at the RSI. We can see RSI is up over 50. This is fantastic. Money flow index is increasing. While it's not above the RSI, it's actually okay that it's not, because we had so much selling pressure over the last 14 days. This is going to be a flawed statistic, if you will. So the money flow index is good. It can help you understand where money's flowing in and out. But the truth is we probably have a lot more money flowing in than you could see, because we had a lot of selling pressure still averaging itself in here. So what that basically tells us here is that we got good convergence. The continuation here potential is high. In other words, we still are under a resistance. We haven't fully broken bullish by any stretch at this point, but how well Solana is responding to Bitcoin, it is a pretty good testament. And what I mean by that is it's no longer, it didn't establish lower lows like Bitcoin did recently. It also is responding almost one-to-one with Bitcoin here, but testing a key level resistance where Bitcoin is not. Well, okay, Bitcoin is kind of at 63K, but the truth is we got more confirming factors here on the daily time frame for Solana than we do with Bitcoin, and that's a good sign. It kind of shows some independence, even though you can't directly see that correlate on the charts. Plus, I really like the back-end data there, that there's not a ridiculous amount of longs in the market, which sounds kind of weird, but it's actually better because it gives us affirmation that the market makers aren't going to try to destroy Solana because we have way too many shorts in the market. So those are all positive signs here. But the truth is, at this point, we're looking at the 4-hour time frame. We're still under that resistance range of about 147. So closing above 147 would be advantageous, of course. But we can see a good momentum here, and money flow index has increased significantly. And this is a really, really good sign. When you see the MFI over the RSI in the 4-hour, that's a very strong shift in momentum. In most cases, it's stronger than the MACD convergence, right? It's a very, very good sign. And with that and the stochastic RSI swinging up here for the second time, there's a lot more reasons why we're probably going to see the price run towards that 150 to 155 range. Let's see what the hourly time frame tells us here. Ichimoku Cloud is kind of like the confirming factor for most continuations here, and we can see we're in really good shape. Absolutely looking nice here as well, with the lagging span being free and clear, conversion lines over the baseline. And as you can kind of see here, the cloud's averaging itself out at that local point of control, that 143 to 144 range. So it kind of reaffirms that the price does pull back. 144 to 143 would be a solid secondary consideration for entry, and potentially a long from there. If you take a look here, you can see Bitcoin kind of wanting to pull back, and look at Solana holding fairly strong at this range. So again, those are a lot of reasons why there's more likelihood of the price going higher. We have a local point of control at 146, so maintaining 146 today would be advantageous. We can see yesterday too, that was that strong amount of volume accumulation. So when you see that combination between both, 2 trading days here, it tells us the average point of control for the last 24 to 48 hours is 146. So the likelihood of dropping below that is lower, because that is an area that people are the most interested in, right? We have the most amount of accumulation there. The only thing that would cause Solana to pull back pretty significant, again, is if Bitcoin does too. But if we look at Bitcoin's price action and we look at Solana's price action, again, very similar in ways here. So bear that in mind too. At this point though, with both coins going into a resistance range, we got to kind of presume the resistance range will hold, but we also need to recognize too, there's so many other contributing factors in the back end, it would make sense for Solana to continue higher, okay? So again, seems kind of crazy and weird to want to take a long at this point, but I'm leaning a little bit more towards that, just simply based on, once again, a lot of these factors here. I love this delta here as compared to Bitcoin. Because again, if you look at Bitcoin's delta, it's a little bit higher, which isn't bad, but you get too high and it starts to pull back. Okay, so I think there's some positivity here with Solana. It looks pretty solid here. So I'm going to consider a long, of course, just leaning more towards that. I would say loosely here at this point, based on back-end data and current liquidation, that 150 to 155 would be a solid take profit range. Okay, again, that's not a significant margin, but we're looking at about 4 to 6% up from the current price action, which is pretty good on a 5x leverage trade. All right, folks, that's kind of what we got there. Last thing too, of course, you're part of our community. You've probably been using Bitunix. Make sure you take advantage of this deposit bonus. You're automatically eligible if you used my link to register in the past. Use it moving forward if you haven't yet. No KYC or VPN. These guys are awesome. I have instructional videos on how to use their exchange too if you're curious. All right, thanks again for your time. We'll look forward to seeing the next one. I'll send a new updated playout chart here shortly on our Twitter, Telegram, and Discord. Thanks again. Take care.